a pickup truck rolled up to the building out of nowhere. A man, all alone, carrying 2 gas cans, started walking toward the building. The security guards at the entrance immediately stepped forward and warned him, "This is private property, no outsiders allowed." His name's Clay. Right now, he had only one goal: blow up the scam operation inside this building. When Clay realized these 2 guards were part of the scam too, he decided not to waste any more time. Without saying a word, he quickly took care of them and walked into the building. Clay reached the front desk and almost politely told her to evacuate everyone from the other offices.
Tell any of the companies in the building to evacuate now.
Faced with this tall guy holding gas cans, she didn't dare argue. She could only nod, trying to keep her fear in check. Clay walked into the scam call center without saying a single word. He slammed the gas cans onto the table and ordered everyone to hang up their phones immediately. Then he told them to follow him and loudly say, "I will never scam vulnerable people again." But all he got back was laughter. One scammer even kept his head down, continuing his call. Clay finally snapped. He grabbed a phone and smashed it down on the guy hard. The scene broke everyone's will instantly. The rest panicked, shaking as they shouted. After that, Clay warned them to get out immediately, then poured gas all over the call center. The sharp smell filled the air fast. People couldn't think about anything else. They ran for their lives in sheer panic. At that moment, the call center boss Garnett stepped forward, warning Clay to stop and leave right now. But Clay ignored him. First, he quickly took out the bodyguards, trailing behind Garnett. Garnett didn't even have time to react. He was too terrified to say a word. Clay disassembled the gun he had taken right in front of him and tossed it aside. Then he firmly attached the bomb he'd prepared to the gas cans. He coldly warned Garnett, "If one more call comes in here, the wires in my hands are going to spark instantly." With the amount of gas he had, he could blow this place to smithereens. In the end, Clay didn't kill Garnett. After dropping that warning, he turned and left the call center. Clay looks like a completely ordinary man who lives alone. He's quiet, doesn't talk much, and makes a living raising bees. The warehouse he rents belongs to a kind elderly woman next door. They've always had a good relationship. She treats him like her own child. She even made plans to have dinner with him last night. That day, Clay brings over a batch of freshly made honey to visit her. But the moment he reaches the door, something feels off. The house is completely dark, yet the smoke alarm is blaring non-stop. Clay's heart sinks. He pushes the door open and steps inside. The next second, he stops in his tracks. A handgun lies on the floor. Beside it, blood that hasn't dried yet. He immediately realizes something terrible has happened to her. Just then, a voice comes from behind him. Clay slowly turns around. A woman is pointing a gun at him.
"What are you doing in my mother's house?"
Her name is Verona. She's the woman's daughter, and she's a police officer. In her eyes, this stranger at the crime scene is the killer. Clay doesn't try to explain himself. He's taken away by the police, labeled as the prime suspect, but the truth comes out quickly. Police discover a large number of suspicious transactions on her computer. She was targeted by a highly professional, well-hidden scam ring. Her life savings were completely wiped out. Even worse, the charity funds she managed were taken as well. Money that was about to be officially reported, drained down to the very last cent. Only then does Verona realize the truth. Her mother wasn't murdered. She was pushed to the edge and chose to take her own life. Clay is cleared of all suspicion and sent back home. Verona apologizes for her mistake, but Clay doesn't blame her. He quietly stays by her side, returns with her to the empty house, and listens in silence as she tells her mother's story. She speaks in despair.
"This crew's been operating for 2 years and we don't even have names."
Clay nods, then turns and walks away. Outside the house, Clay pulls out his phone and dials a number. The call connects. The voice on the other end asks only one thing.
"Thought you retired."
I need a favor.
The truth is finally revealed. The man who now survives by beekeeping was once a professional hitman, and now he's made his decision. For the old woman who can no longer speak, he will personally settle this blood debt. Suddenly, gunshots cut through Clay's memories, and he knew something was wrong. It turned out Garnett, the one who had survived, immediately called his boss. Pretty soon, he got Clay's address from the other side. Looking for revenge, Garnett brought a team to Clay's bee farm. Gunfire rang out, rows of beehives were shattered, and the bees scattered in every direction. By the time they reached the warehouse, Clay was already hiding in the shadows. He turned on every machine in the warehouse. The roaring noise instantly covered his footsteps. Using his knowledge of the layout, he silently appeared behind the first guy, tightened a chain around him, and the man went down instantly. With sharp instincts and expert skills, Clay struck fast and took out everyone except Garnett in no time. Hearing the commotion, Garnett panicked completely and fired wildly toward the noise until he ran out of bullets.
We can talk about this. We can talk about this.
Clay didn't respond. He grabbed Garnett's gun hand, pinned it on the cutting machine, then slung his prepared backpack over his shoulder and walked away. Meanwhile, Verona was assigned to investigate the call center explosion, and following the clues, she locked her sights on Clay. While she was questioning survivors, a colleague suddenly brought news. Her mother's warehouse was on fire. By the time they arrived, the warehouse was reduced to ashes, with only a few charred bodies remaining. Before the fire fully engulfed everything, Garnett drove off from the scene. He called his boss Drake again. Drake thought everything was settled and was feeling pretty pleased with himself. But the phone delivered bad news.
My fingers? He cut them off.
Drake finally sensed something was off, but he didn't think too much of it. Hearing that it was just a beekeeper, Drake shrugged it off again and planned to send more people to deal with Clay. But the next second, Garnett's panicked voice came over the phone.
What? No! What the fuck is this, man?
Turns out, Clay had tied up Garnett with the other end of the rope fastened to a car. Amid Garnett's desperate cries, Clay started the engine. The car shot toward the bridge railing. The next moment, Garnett and the car plunged into the water below. After dealing with Garnett, Clay answered the phone and politely asked who he was speaking to. Meanwhile, Drake on the other end was still threatening him.
Because you don't burn me down, I burn you down. You understand me?
Clay stayed calm and said,
Now I'm gonna burn you down.
After hanging up, Drake started freaking out. He turned to Wallace, who always helped his mother, and asked him to take care of Clay. But when Wallace realized the guy they were dealing with was just a beekeeper, he flat out refused. Years of working with the Bureau had taught him, mess with a guy like this and no one ends well. Not long after, Drake's mother called Wallace. She didn't know exactly what her son was up to, but she asked Wallace to help deal with the problem. Wallace, who had secretly loved her for years, hesitated for a moment, but finally agreed to take care of Clay.
I still think of you.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
After hanging up, Wallace called the CIA director, asking him to get in touch with the current beekeeper. Night fell, and Clay drove to a gas station by the roadside. No sooner had he stopped than a pickup barreled straight at him. Then a woman appeared, wearing a trench coat and holding a machine gun. Without a word, she opened fire on Clay, and this person was the current beekeeper. By the time she moved closer to check, Clay had vanished. Just then, a police car blared its siren as it pulled up. The woman stepped forward, and Adam seized the chance. Even though she reacted fast, she was no match for Adam and was subdued within moments. Fuming with rage, she revealed her ultimate weapon, a military-grade Gatling gun. Bullets rained down like a storm, but they posed no threat to Clay. He slipped over to the car, tossed a jar of honey at her, and lit it with a lighter. Flames instantly engulfed her body. Watching her being consumed by fire, Clay didn't leave right away. He calmly removes her finger, put it in his bag, then drove off in a passerby's car, disappearing into the night. Meanwhile, Wallace got a call from the beekeeping organization. Hearing that the mission had failed, he nearly freaked out. He knew as long as Clay was alive, he'd be next. To protect themselves, the organization told Wallace they'd remain neutral and stay out of this. That made Wallace furious. He had no choice but to come up with another plan. The next day, he gathered retired Navy SEALs, planning to overwhelm Clay with sheer numbers. Meanwhile, Clay arrived at the current beekeeper's secret base. He used the woman's finger to unlock the base and found the location of the scam group's headquarters. With his gear updated and backpack ready, Clay set off toward the headquarters. Meanwhile, Verona and her team kept digging into Adam's identity. She briefed the deputy director on Clay and the beekeeping organization, speculating that Clay's next target was likely the Nine Stars United Group, the scam syndicate's HQ. After hearing this, the deputy director immediately gave Verona command authority. With the authority in hand, she rushed with SWAT to the building, only to find Wallace's hired security already waiting. The security looked down on the SWAT team and ordered them to stand by outside. Then the security captain led his team inside, ordering employees to shut down their computers and evacuate quickly. But the group's boss refused to cooperate and called Drake right there. Drake also refused to halt operations, and the boss angrily yelled at the security captain.
So maybe you just do your fucking job and don't tell me how to do mine, please?
While the security captain stepped out to manage the employees, Clay quietly took out the SWAT at the entrance and slipped into the scam syndicate's HQ. Clay coldly ordered everyone to evacuate immediately, but the boss, not realizing the danger, stood up and refused. Before the words were out, the security captain saw Clay and opened fire. Clay slid in, dodging into an office, with the security captain hot on his heels. He quickly climbed onto the ceiling and grabbed some wires to use as weapons. Using a fallen body as bait, he strangled a patrolling guard up to the roof, then jumped down and took out another guard with a single kick. Then Clay hit the fire alarm, hid around a corner, ambushed the security captain, and quickly neutralized the guards behind him.
You are a problem. Goddamn right I'm a problem.
The security captain pulled out an axe, trying to face Clay head-on, but he was no match for Clay. Clay grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and knocked him out cold in just 2 swings. At that moment, Verona and the SWAT team arrived. But Clay was ready, having set traps and timed the elevator perfectly, taking out the first wave of cops instantly. Verona, following behind, had no choice but to take the stairs to continue the chase. Just upstairs, she tried to persuade Clay to stop, warning him that the law would catch up. But Clay didn't listen. He just learned that Drake's mother was about to become the next president.
Look, these people, they're untouchable.
As a beekeeper, Clay knew that if the hive lost balance, the queen must be replaced. Clay used the chaos to escape, but Verona's colleague was right on his heels. After a brief scuffle, he didn't kill him. He simply took his handgun and retreated. Meanwhile, Wallace, having dinner, got bad news. The men he sent didn't just fail to stop Clay, they were all wiped out. Not a single survivor. After a moment of thought, Wallace came up with a new plan. Have Drake ask his mother for help. He figured that with Drake's mother's influence, Clay couldn't touch them. What they didn't know was that Clay's next target was Drake and his mother. Meanwhile, Drake's mother had no idea what her son was up to. She only told him that as long as he didn't go too far, her tech team could assist.
Derek's joining me this weekend. Help me keep him sober.
Yes, ma'am. Love babysitting.
Little did she know, that decision would ruin the rest of her career. Elsewhere, Verona led Secret Service to Drake's location, tasked with protecting the president.
Get the Secret Service out of the house. I don't want them here.
Wallace brought in the elite mercenary Lazarus, who had once taken down a beekeeper team but lost a leg in the process.
Fuck, bro! How'd you piss this oak off, huh?
As everyone rushed to set up defenses, Jessica landed via Navy helicopter. Seeing the tense standoff at the estate, she finally realized the mess her son had caused and demanded Wallace explain everything in detail. Meanwhile, Clay had approached the estate through the sewers, hiding under a truck. When the security checked under the truck, Clay silently took them out, swapped into a security uniform, and planted a bomb under another vehicle. After setting everything up, Adam put on a suit and swaggered around the estate, deliberately drawing Verona's attention. Verona's heart skipped a beat as she immediately alerted everyone.
He's here.
Lazarus got the alert too and led his team into action. As everyone scrambled to find Clay, the FBI director approached Jessica, revealing Drake's scam empire. Outside the estate, Verona finally spotted Clay in the crowd and raised her gun to chase him. Strangely, Clay didn't run. He calmly dropped to his knees and raised his hands, but no one noticed. He had a detonator hidden in his hand. Just as Lazarus was about to pull the trigger, Clay detonated the bomb he'd planted earlier, grabbed a gun in the chaos, and took out several people. Then he took a security guard hostage, retreated, and plunged into intense combat inside the estate. Clay moved through the crowd, taking out anyone who tried to stop him. Finally, Clay reached the floor where the president was. As he pushed open the door, Lazarus charged, and they immediately grappled. Lazarus drew a knife and slashed toward Clay. But as a beekeeper, Clay quickly found his weakness. He used Lazarus's prosthetic leg to unbalance him and knocked him down instantly. He then grabbed the knife and finished Lazarus off completely. At that moment, Jessica finally realized her campaign funds weren't clean.
I'm telling him the truth about what you did, Derek. Then I'm telling the entire nation.
She looked at her stubborn son and tried to persuade him to stop. But Drake still didn't see the danger and even shot the messenger. Clay was already quietly outside the door. Wallace tried to reason with him, but Clay ignored him, snapped his right hand, and blew the door open. Facing Clay, a frantic Drake actually took his mother hostage. Verona and her team immediately stormed the room. Clay spoke coldly, leaving Drake with only 2 choices, law or justice. Drake panicked and pointed his gun at Jessica. In the critical moment, Clay struck first and cleanly took out Drake. Then, he used the chaos to escape through a window. Verona watched Clay's back and gave up the pursuit. In the end, Clay appeared on a beach behind the estate. He put on a diving suit he had prepared earlier and walked step by step into the sea, slowly disappearing into the horizon. Clay might return to a solitary life by the sea, or vanish into some unknown corner, continuing to protect the justice that belongs to him.